In the previous episode, Clara and Gabriel delved deeper into the mystery of the locket, facing relentless persecution and deciphering ancient secrets hidden in the shadows of history. Now, in episode 9, the action continues, pushing the two protagonists to the limit as they discover an enigmatic cave that holds answers and unexpected dangers. If you missed episode 8, go back and discover the events that led to this electrifying, breathtaking sequence. Every detail matters on this journey, where past and present collide in a fight for survival and truth. The episode begins with Clara and Gabriel facing the emotional turmoil left by the discovery in the mysterious book. They are sitting in a small library hidden in Lyon, analyzing the ancient texts that seem to intertwine the destinies of their families for centuries. Clara, visibly shaken, questions how their lives could have been manipulated by something so old and unknown. Gabriel, trying to remain calm, insists that they must move on, even if it means digging up even darker secrets. Meanwhile, flashbacks to Clara and Gabriel's past are interspersed, revealing clues about the connections between their ancestors. We see scenes from an old village in 18th century France, where two young people who incredibly resemble Clara and Gabriel are involved in a plot that mixes romance and betrayal. These memories come to light in an unsettling way, almost as if they were transmitted by the book itself. In the present, the tension between Clara and Gabriel increases when they receive an anonymous message demanding that they stop investigating the book. The message is accompanied by recent photos of them together, indicating that they are being monitored. Clara, fearful, suggests abandoning everything, but Gabriel, stubborn and determined, believes that retreating will only put them in more danger. Follow the story to find out what Clara and Gabriel will find in their next clue. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the unfolding of this mystery. Clara and Gabriel arrive at an old university in Paris, where they locate Professor Jacques Moreau, a renowned expert in historical texts and symbology. The reception is initially hostile. Jacques, a middle-aged man with a skeptical look, hesitates to help them, claiming that he has heard too many stories about curses associated with ancient objects. However, when he sees the book and the symbols engraved on its pages, his expression changes from disbelief to fearful curiosity. While Jacques examines the book, Clara and Gabriel take the opportunity to explore the university, which has a rich history linked to the French Revolution. The stone corridors and faded paintings on the walls tell stories of intrigue and resistance. This setting contributes to the growing feeling that they are dealing with something much bigger than they imagined. In one of the rooms, Clara finds an old engraving depicting a scene that seems to have been taken directly from the book. Two figures, one male and one female, surrounded by a circle of fire. The resemblance between them and the characters recorded in the book is disturbing. Back in Jacques' office, the professor reveals his first discoveries. The text in the book is a combination of archaic Latin and symbols from a language he believes to be a forgotten derivation of Gallo-Roman. He points to a passage that mentions the chosen ones and the key to the future. Despite the initial information, Jacques warns that the book seems to contain a coded message that can only be understood with one specific piece: a medallion lost for centuries. Gabriel remembers seeing something similar in one of the objects inherited from his family and suggests that they return to the village where he grew up to look for it. Meanwhile, Clara and Gabriel's movements continue to be monitored. In a parallel scene, we see a mysterious man in a dark suit and stern countenance receiving a detailed report on their location. He makes a brief but decisive call, ordering that the search be terminated at any cost. The feeling of imminent danger grows. On the way back to the lodging, Clara and Gabriel realize that they are being followed again. They try to mislead the black car, but the chase through the streets of Paris intensifies. The episode reaches an adrenaline rush when they manage to escape by entering a narrow passage that can only be accessed on foot, leaving the vehicle behind. Panting, they take shelter in a small hidden cafe, where Clara questions whether they should continue. Gabriel, still determined, says that they cannot stop now, as they are closer than ever to understanding what is really happening. At dawn the next day, Clara and Gabriel set off for Gabriel's home village, a small, isolated village in the south of France, surrounded by vast lavender fields and towering mountains. During the long trip, the two exchange stories about their childhoods. Clara reveals a remarkable episode in her life when she found an old diary in her house that mentioned the key to a greater destiny. She has never understood the meaning of that until now, but she believes that there is a connection with what they are experiencing. The winding road and bucolic settings offer a brief moment of calm, but the underlying tension is still present. When they arrive in the village, they are greeted by Gabriel's great-aunt, Madeleine, a woman with a fragile appearance, but with a sharp mind. She leads them inside the house, a rustic stone building that seems frozen in time, with antique furniture and faded photographs that tell the story of past generations. Madeleine explains that the heirloom chest was kept secret for decades due to the dark stories surrounding it. She hesitates to hand him over, but Gabriel's determination convinces her. Before opening the trunk, Madeleine gives a brief account of the origin of the medallion that Gabriel is looking for. According to her, the object was passed down from generation to generation as a symbol of protection, but also as a warning never to fully unravel its secrets. She mentions that the medallion is connected to an ancient society that believed in the balance between good and evil, and that disrupting this balance could have devastating consequences. Inside the chest, they find the medallion. It is an intricate piece made of aged gold with symbols similar to those found in the book. In the center, there is an opaque crystal that emits a faint glow in the sunlight. Gabriel notices that there is a perfect fit between the medallion and one of the pages of the book, suggesting that the object is, in fact, the key mentioned. While examining the locket, an unexpected discovery is made. A letter written by Gabriel's great-grandfather. In the letter, he describes his participation in a secret organization dedicated to protecting the locket and its secrets. The tone of the letter is one of warning and guilt, as if he knows that his generation has failed in some crucial mission. This adds more weight to the journey of Clara and Gabriel, who now realize that they are dealing with something much bigger than their own lives. While processing this information, the village is suddenly invaded by strangers. Madeleine, with her experience and innate distrust, notices the arrival of visitors even before they knock on the door. She instructs Clara and Gabriel to hide the locket and the book in a secret compartment on the floor of the room. When the men arrive, wearing dark suits and with stern expressions, Madeleine greets them with a firm but cautious stance. The men pose as investigators, claiming they are looking for a stolen historical artifact. Madeleine, with skill and cunning, pretends not to know what they are talking about. Clara and Gabriel, hiding in an adjoining room, overhear the conversation and realize that they are dealing with a powerful and well-informed organization. After the men leave, Madeleine says it won't be safe to stay in the village for long. She suggests that Clara and Gabriel go to a monastery in the nearby mountains, where, according to local stories, there are records about the secret organization mentioned in the letter from Gabriel's great-grandfather. As they prepare to leave, Clara has a brief vision as she holds the locket. She sees fragments of events, a circular room with walls covered in symbols, an intense fire, and two figures that appear to be at the center of a ritual. She doesn't tell anyone about it, but the experience makes her uneasy, as if something very old is trying to communicate directly with her. At nightfall, Clara and Gabriel leave the village under the cover of darkness, guided by Madeleine's guidance. The road to the monastery is dangerous and full of sharp turns, requiring Gabriel's full concentration. During the crossing, they realize that they are being followed again. A pair of beacons appears on the horizon, approaching rapidly. Gabriel accelerates, trying to outwit the pursuers, but the rough terrain makes the task nearly impossible. The persecution culminates in a narrow and precarious bridge. Gabriel, with cold blood, decides to take a risk and cross, even with the structure swaying under the weight of the car. When they reach the other side, Clara looks back and sees the pursuers hesitating to follow. However, they know that this victory is temporary. The feeling that they are constantly being watched is overwhelming. As they pass through the iron gates of the monastery, Claire and Gabriel are greeted by an elderly monk, Father Henri, whose serene expression contrasts with his attentive eyes, as if already waiting for his arrival. He leads them through the silent cloister, where the sound of his footsteps echoes softly through the stone walls. The environment is charged with an ancestral, almost palpable energy. Clara feels a mixture of awe and anxiety as she observes the stained glass windows that depict scenes of spiritual battles and the struggle between light and darkness. Father Henry leads them to a room that he calls the scriptorium. The site is filled with bookshelves, crammed with ancient books, maps, and carefully preserved scrolls. In the center of the room, a large table with candles illuminating a vast manuscript, open to a page depicting a figure holding the same medallion that is now in Gabriel's hands. The priest explains that the monastery keeps records about the Brotherhood of the Scales, a secret order that believed itself to be the guardian of universal balance. Henry reveals that the medallion is one of the 7 keys of destiny, artifacts created to protect the balance between opposing forces. He mentions that each key is connected to a guardian, a person chosen for his or her resilience and purity of heart. Gabriel and Clara are astonished to realize that the medallion has chosen them in some way, guiding them there. As Henri speaks, a younger monk, Brother Jacques, enters the room. He is visibly suspicious, casting quick glances at Clara and Gabriel. Henri explains that Jacques is one of the few who knows about the existence of the medallion, but warns that it is not possible to trust everyone. Tension rises when Jacques questions why strangers are in the monastery, hinting that their presence could endanger the safety of everyone there. Clara tries to explain her journey, but Jacques interrupts her, insisting that no one should know the location of the monastery. Henri, however, intervenes, saying that the fate of the two seems to be linked to that of the Brotherhood, and that ignoring this could be more dangerous than helping them. Reluctantly, Jacques withdraws, but the atmosphere of mistrust remains. Henri begins to translate the symbols on the medallion and reveals that they point to a specific location, a hidden cave in the nearby mountains where the order performed its purification rituals. However, he warns that the cave is also a dangerous place, filled with traps designed to protect the Brotherhood's secrets. Before Clara and Gabriel can react, the monastery bell rings, signaling the arrival of unexpected visitors. The monks rush to lock the gates, but it is too late. A group of armed men enters the courtyard, demanding access to the medallion. Gabriel and Clara are hidden in the scriptorium, while the monks try to negotiate. Henri, his voice firm, denies knowing about the artifact, but the situation quickly escalates. Clara hears the men threatening to use force if they don't get what they want. Determined not to put the monks in danger, Clara and Gabriel come out of hiding and confront the intruders. Gabriel holds the locket, saying that only he can activate it and that they will never be able to achieve their goal without his cooperation. The men, surprised by Gabriel's courage, hesitate, but do not back down. Clara takes advantage of the distraction to discreetly signal the monks to flee and call for help. The tension culminates in a physical confrontation. Gabriel and Clara manage to escape from the courtyard, but are chased by the men to the forest near the monastery. Clara and Gabriel, their breaths panting and their bodies covered in scratches, run through the dense forest, illuminated only by the moonlight that penetrates the treetops. Behind them, the screams of their pursuers echo ominously. Clara feels the growing weight of adrenaline mixed with the fear of being captured. Gabriel, still holding on tightly to the locket, looks back occasionally, determined to protect Clara at any cost. They spot a narrow opening between two gigantic rocks, which seems to lead to the cave mentioned by Father Henri. Without hesitation, they enter the place, using only a lighter from Gabriel to light the way. The cave is cold, damp, and silent, with stalactites hanging like menacing teeth from the ceiling. The sound of drops falling into the water echoes around, creating an unsettling soundtrack to your escape. As they advance, Gabriel notices inscriptions on the walls of the cave similar to the symbols on the medallion. He mentions that they seem to guide the way, but Clara warns him to be careful, remembering the traps Henry mentioned. Suddenly, they hear footsteps echoing behind them. The pursuers also found the entrance. Clara and Gabriel quicken their pace, tripping over loose rocks and trying to quickly decipher the symbols on the walls. Gabriel notices a fork ahead, and as he observes the inscriptions, he realizes that only one of the paths leads to safety. He guides Clara down the right corridor, but not before creating a distraction. He pushes a large boulder that partially blocks the other path, slowing down his pursuers. Finally, they reach a wide, dark chamber where the locket begins to glow brightly. In the center of the room, there is an ornate pedestal with carvings that seem to fit the medallion perfectly. Gabriel hesitates, remembering Henri's warnings about the traps, but Clara encourages him. "If we've come this far, it's because it was meant to happen," she says. By fitting the medallion to the pedestal, the chamber is filled with a golden light. The symbols on the walls glow, projecting scenes of an ancient battle between light and dark. Clara and Gabriel watch, fascinated, as the images seem to reveal secrets about the origin of the medallion and its purpose. Among the projections, a shadowy figure appears, warning that activating the medallion without gathering all the keys can throw the world out of balance. Before they can fully grasp the message, the ground begins to shake. Clara realizes that they have activated some mechanism in the cave. Stone doors begin to close around, and Gabriel realizes that it is a trap to protect the locket from being taken away. They have little time to escape. Clara and Gabriel run towards the exit, while the cave collapses behind them. The path is narrow, and they almost lose their balance as they cross a stone bridge that begins to crumble. Finally, they manage to escape outside, panting and covered in dust. However, they don't have time to rest. The men who were chasing them are waiting outside, weapons in hand. The leaders of the group demand the medallion, but Gabriel and Clara refuse to hand it over. When it seems that there is no way out, a figure emerges from the shadows, Father Henri, accompanied by other monks of the monastery. They are armed with relics that emit an intense energy, enough to intimidate the pursuers. A battle begins, and Clara and Gabriel take advantage of the confusion to escape again. But now, with a clear idea, they need to find the other keys before it's too late. And when everything seemed to finally fall into place, Clara and Gabriel are faced with a surprising revelation that completely changes the course of the search for the medallion. But the answers come at a price, and now they face the biggest challenge of their lives. Are they ready for the ultimate truth? Don't miss out on the thrilling outcome of this journey in the final episode of the season.